Gatorade studies the best athletes to make the world's #1 sports drink. You fuel us, we fuel you. Nothing beats Gatorade.
Woohoo! Oh yeah! Enjoy that background music first, okay? Because I missed all of you. And with that, I say good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of your Sports Locked and Loaded. Oh, I forgot. I should say good evening as well to our friends all the way from Australia, because I do believe that some of our athletes that will be featuring in today's show are watching us. Team USA and Team Australia, thank you for tuning in. I know it's 7 p.m. there, and be with us for the next hour and a half. To my fellow Filipinos, thank you for always supporting Sports Locked and Loaded. Chicky Reyes here, broadcasting all the way from Cubao, Quezon City. And of course, I am joined by my director, international director, Nick Earnshaw, broadcasting or working all the way from Tokyo, Japan. Yes, thank you very much, Direct. Would like to welcome all of you to our 7th episode for Season 2 and our 42nd episode overall since Sports Locked and Loaded was created May of 2020. And would like to say thank you to our friends from Gatorade, of course, Mr. Mikey Rosales. Thank you very much, Miss Melay Javier. Thank you very much, Miss Marcia Guillermo. Thank you, Gatorade, for always believing and supporting Sports Locked and Loaded. To our new followers, new friends watching us right now, I'd like to remind all of you to make sure that you make your presence felt through the comment section below. Just type in there if you want to shout out. We'll do that. If you want to say hello to our special guests, 2 special guests, please do type your comments or your hellos and highs there. Would be glad to bring it out and say hello to you as well. Before we go deep into our show today, would like to acknowledge, of course, the organizers of 1,000 Miles to Light. Woo-hoo! The team of Mr. Pat Farmer. Thank you guys for being with us, Brooke Farmer and everybody else there. Would like to say hello as well to Team USA and Team Australia. Yeah! We want to tip off our hats, salute to the Australian Army who'll be helping our athletes in this 10-day challenge. And of course, to all the members of the support crew, everyone who'll be working with Pat, Team USA, and Team Australia. Thank you very much. And congratulations, by the way, to all the athletes at the Tokyo Olympics. Those who got gold, silver, bronze, and those who didn't even get a medal. We salute all of you, all athletes at the Tokyo Olympics. You guys are a source of inspiration to all of us sports aficionados. Thank you for being with us. Okay, and we wish all the other athletes who are still going to compete for the next few days. Since we're talking about Olympics, we're going on to my next favorite segment, On This Day in Sports. Here we go. We're talking about Olympics and we're talking about running. We're going to have running as our special show today. Did you know that August 6, 1936, Jack Lovelock of New Zealand ran a world record of 3 minutes 47.8 seconds to win the gold medal in the 1,500 meter race at the Berlin Olympics, and that was exactly 31,046 days or 85 years ago. Now, Jack was born on January 5, 1910, and unfortunately he passed away December 28, 1949 at the age of 39. It was an unfortunate accident at the train station, Brooklyn train station in New York. He was born in Crushington, New Zealand, and some accolades or why he was famous, he was actually a major in the Royal Army Medical Corps during World War II. Check that out. And in 1990, New Zealand Post Office issued a set of stamps featuring Lovelock. Now, the New Zealand Ministry for Culture and Heritage referred to him as Lovelock Legend and describes him as having captured the imagination of New Zealanders and others. And in 2002, a statue was erected at Timaru Boys High, where much of the memorabilia related to him is stored. So that's what happened. August 6, 1936, Jack Lovelock of New Zealand running a world record of 3 minutes 47.8 seconds to win the gold medal in the 1,500 meter race at the Berlin Olympics. Yeah! Thank you, thank you, thank you. On this day in sports, imagine 85 years ago, right? Okay, so we'll now dive deep into our special show today, and allow me to introduce our two guests for this afternoon, or in Australia's case, this evening. First, ladies first. We'll start with the lovely lady. She is a self-proclaimed ex-couch potato who lost 50 pounds while rebuilding her body, mind, and entire life after discovering endurance sports at the age of 30. Wow! Dedicated her past 20 plus years of her life inspiring thousands and coaching hundreds to use endurance sports, outdoor adventure, and human connection as powerful tools for change in their own lives. And she is an Iron Woman, an ultra endurance runner, an adventure athlete, finishing hundreds of races from your simple 5 miles to the most complex 150 miles, and a business and community leader, Endurance Town USA podcast host, marketing and business consultant, professional event director, and life business coach, and everything else in between. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me all the way from Australia, representing Team USA, give it up for Samantha Pruitt. Woohoo! Hey, Sam.
Hi, guys. How are you?
How are you doing? How are you doing?
Fabulous. Super excited to be here with you tonight from Sydney, Australia, in quarantine still. I've got one more day in quarantine before we get out, but great to be on the show and can't wait to dig into this subject matter I care so deeply about.
Thank you very much. Samantha Pruitt will pick her brains later on, but joining Samantha, as she represents Team USA, right? On the other side of the fence, okay, representing Team Australia, 35 years of running experience, raised millions of dollars for charities worldwide through his running. Check this out, the only man to have run from North Pole to the South Pole, traversing the polar ice caps, the infamous Darien Jungle, North America, Central America, South America. My goodness. The author of Pole to Pole, One Man, 20 Million Steps, holds the fastest time across the Simpson Desert, and has run through the hottest conditions on Earth and even the coldest condition as well. Also raced across America twice, run the length of Vietnam, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, and so on and so forth. He was named Adventurer of the Year in 2012, a federal politician between 2001 and 2010, and the director of Sport Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Team Australia, Mr. Pat Farmer. Woo! Hey, Pat, how are you?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, Chicky. Very well, and great to be on the program. And it's wonderful to be able to have the opportunity to speak to so many people there in the Philippines. I know there is absolute passion for running and for sport there in the Philippines, so it's wonderful to be on the show tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Pat and Sam, for joining me, and Direct Nick for this fun afternoon. You know, before we talk about the 1,000 miles to light, I hope you don't mind if you take off your super athlete hats first. And I'd like to ask you guys, it's no secret we are 16, 17, 18 months into this pandemic, and I'd like to check on you guys quickly. The state of USA, the state of Australia. How are you guys? How are you guys doing right now? Your respective countries, and you as well with your respective loved ones. I'll start with Samantha on this one. How are you? How's USA? How's your family doing, Sam?
Yeah, I'm doing well. My family is healthy and happy. Thank you very much. And expanding. We have another grandchild on the way in January. So everything's good in our family department. Friends are all good and healthy. I live in California, And so each of the states is having a slightly different experience, for sure. But in general, the United States has started opening up pretty wide. We have some restrictions still in some places. In California, where I live, for example, we still do need to wear masks in public spaces, and we have some restrictions put on us. But in general, we have most of our freedoms, and we're incredibly grateful for all of the people that have been handling this all the way down the pipeline, and the hard-working individuals that have helped all of us get through this very challenging time.
Oh, nice to hear that. At least people are trying to work together, right? In
For sure.
trying to get out of this situation, and I guess it's the same for every country or every corner of the world,
Yeah.
because here in the Philippines, we're trying to do our part as well. So, Pat, I'd like to jump to you. How is Australia doing? How's your family doing in the midst of all this?
Well, thank you very much, Chiki. One of the things about Australia is that we are an island, although we are a large island, and so we've been protected to quite a large degree. Although it hasn't evaded us. It's been it's very difficult for people to be able to deal with the lockdowns, and one of the reasons why I devised this run that we're going to speak about later in the show is because of the youth suicide rate and the amount of people that are absolutely depressed about just having to stay in their homes and not being able to be with their loved ones, not being able to get out, and so it's been very, very tough on a lot of people, and ourselves included. And of course, directly related to this particular run, the Americans have come out to Australia to show their support for Australia and for this event, and for youth mental health. And they're in quarantine for 2 weeks, which they'll get out of tomorrow morning, but it's still been very, very difficult for them. And I admire the sacrifices that they are making and the sacrifices that everybody is making, not only here in Australia, but indeed right around the world, to be able to try and free us all up and to be able to make a difference and to be able to get back to life as we used to know it.
But that's nice to hear that you came up with this event, and thank you, of course, to Team USA for joining as well. And we'll dive more into what you mentioned earlier about that the youth mental health crisis, and I guess everyone at one point in the past 16, 18 months, we've really asked ourselves, and what's happening? How am I going to go and beat this thing that's bothering all of us? But before we dive into that, um, a lot of my friends, when I said that I'll be interviewing two super athletes, they said, Chiki, I'm sure at one point in their careers, they were just like everybody else, as mortals, right? like any you might say John Doe or Juan de la Cruz in our country, any Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'll start with Pat here, okay? Sam, I'll put you first in the virtual background. I'll start to ask a few questions for to Patrick here. Pat, 35 years of running experience. I mean, how did running enter your life? I mean, did it just pop up? Is it part of your growing up years? How did it all start for Patrick Farmer?
Look, I think it was almost a part of God's plan, to be quite honest with you. I was a motor mechanic. I was working underneath a car one day, and this group of runners ran past where I worked, and I was so inspired by these athletes that I basically downed my tools and I took up ultra running as a result of that. It took me a lot of years to finally get to the stage where I was good enough to compete with some of the best, but it was that inspiration of somebody just actually doing something. In this world, there are so many people that talk about what they want to achieve and talk about losing weight or getting fitter or doing this or doing that, giving up cigarettes or, whatever it might be. But it's the people that actually do things that are the inspiration to everybody else. And so when I saw these athletes, running what was considered as one of the toughest races on earth at the time, back in the 1980s. This was a run from Sydney to Melbourne, which was 1,000 kilometers, or approximately 800 miles. So, quite a decent distance. And they would be running day and night. But the most inspiring thing about all of that was there was one man who was at the back of the field when I saw him, but went on to win the race. His name was Cliff Young. He was 65 years old when he did this.
Wow.
And he inspired a nation that it doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are. If you want to do something with all your heart, you can.
So it's part of God's plan, and you were inspired by these other runners, and you just kept on going. You just kept on going, race after race, regardless of the distance, right, Pat? Short or long, it doesn't matter.
Well, with me, I went straight on into the long distance stuff because that's what I was inspired by. But the thing about it was, I had to learn the hard way about food, about nutrition, about the right fluids to drink, getting isotonics drinks. I know that you're sponsored by Gatorade, and of course, all of those drinks are so important to an athlete to be able to push on, especially through very hot climates, which I've run through, deserts around the world, and of course here in Australia. But, so it took me a long time to learn, but there was this thirst to learn because these athletes were put up on a pedestal, and they were somebody special, and they were on TV, and people were clapping and cheering them as they ran past along the road. And I wanted that. I wanted to be somebody special myself. I wanted to do something with my own life. I wanted to inspire other people. And so I thought, if these guys can do it, then surely I can. So it was just that moment of inspiration that changed my life forever.
And I like how you describe that. These people are on a pedestal, source of inspiration. They're given a tool, as your first phrase was earlier. It was designed by the big guy up there, right? On this running, your love for running, or for long distance running. You have so many running achievements, Pat. For our viewers, if you're not familiar with Pat Farmer, what's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, make sure that you check out his bio, because you'd be surprised at how many long distance events or races that Pat has joined. So many running achievements, Pat, tucked under your belt. And I'd like to pick your brains further. Please do share with us some of the highlight stories of your running career, of these achievements. I know it's a lot, but if you were to pick some, what would it be? Is it the North Pole to South Pole? Is it your Simpson Desert Run? Is it your running the America twice? Your the length of Vietnam, and so on and so forth? Give us a couple, please, and do share us the stories behind those.
Well, Chicky, to be quite honest with you, I have this very simple philosophy, and my philosophy of life is that opportunities come along in your life. You either take them or you live on regret. And so that moment when I was a motor mechanic and I saw Cliff Young run past where I worked as a motor mechanic and run on to win the Sydney to Melbourne race, the Westfield Run, that was an opportunity for me to be inspired and to accept that challenge and to go out there and do something myself. Now, I could have stayed back and just said, "Oh, that's great, but it's not for me. That's not what I do." But I would have been left with regret all of my life, not thinking that I could do anything more with my life, travel and see the world and do things. So it's through opportunity that we do great things. And so consequently, it's about accepting those opportunities as well. So with that in mind, anytime a challenge has come up for me, I've accepted that. And so I've looked at things that are most difficult to do, and I thought, how can I inspire people the most? Well, in the hottest climates on earth, I've run across deserts, and I've done that because a lot of people figure that, you can't run in the heat. In the coldest climates on earth, I've run across ice polar caps because a lot of people figure, well, that's just too hard. But as you see, I'm just a simple, ordinary person. So if I can do those things, they can as well. So I use that to inspire everybody. So every single run has been important in my own eyes, and important to me because there's been somebody standing on the side of the road just as I was, who was inspired by what I did. So, I did the run the length of India. That was for
Wow.
education, girls' education from Kanyakumari up to Kashmir, right up to the base of the Himalayan mountains. I've run across America a couple of times. The footage on there is about a run that I ran in Uganda. That was for the Love Mercy Foundation, which is a Christian foundation that provides a medical center and health and support for women in Uganda. All over the world, wherever I've run, has been for the International Red Cross, for Lifeline, for so many different causes. And so, as you can see that, like I reach a level, I climb to the top of a mountain, I achieve something great. But the greatest thing I achieve is inspiring other people and helping to raise significant funds to change their lives. I ran the length of Vietnam. I ran the length of the world, basically from the North Pole to the South Pole, to try and raise funds to create clean sanitary conditions and clean water for so many people in the world that were dying because they simply couldn't get their hands on clean drinking water, and they didn't have filtration systems, or they had poor sanitary conditions. So in these life and times when we're able to put people on the moon, when we're able to send robots to Mars, you would think that we could at least provide clean drinking water and clean sanitary conditions for the people that we care the most about. So, that's the sort of thing that drives me and pushes me to do what I do.
I love it. I love that eagerness and that natural desire to help and make a dent, right? In this world. But before I go on to my next question to you, Pat, um, informing our viewers, at least those who were able to see us, that we are on YouTube. We're having slight difficulties right now in putting it on Facebook of Sports Locked and Loaded, but don't worry, because after this one, we're gonna put it there, the entirety of the broadcast, and it will also be shown, I believe, on the Facebook page of 1,000 Miles to Light on another day or maybe later on. So please do spread the word, Samantha. If you could share it with Team USA and Team Australia that we are on YouTube right now, the YouTube channel of Sports Locked and Loaded. Kindly go there first. Part of the new normal, right? Sometimes you get these challenges, in broadcast, but we are the humans are very resilient. We're not gonna stop, right? So you can still watch this on YouTube, and we'll place it later on the Facebook page of Sports Locked and Loaded, and you can also catch it on the 1,000 Miles to Light Facebook page, the recorded show. Okay, so Pat, going to what you were sharing earlier, the drive to share, the drive to always make a dent and help other people. From the moment that you saw Cliff Young in that event, you said, "I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this until I cannot run anymore." Is that something that you
Yeah.
promised yourself?
Yes. Look, basically that was it. But if I could be completely honest with you, Chicky, I've had a couple of moments in my life that have changed my life. Even prior to that, one was my father passed away of a heart attack when I was 14 years old. He was just a young man, and so ever since then, I've sort of realized how important it is to be healthy and have a good, healthy heart, and and also. Later on in life, unfortunately, I had a moment in my life where, of course, my wife passed away, and I was left with my two young children, whom I loved dearly, but we were only young at the time, and those two things made me realize how fragile this life is and how short it can be, and so that's why. There is many sayings all over the globe about living every single day of our life to our best ability and being the best we possibly can. And a lot of people they know those sayings, but they don't do anything about it. In my case, because of those experiences, I thank God for every single day that I have the opportunity to do something with my life. And so that's why in a lot of people's eyes, the things I do are crazy and unbelievable, but it's amazing what you can achieve when you have no fear and when you wipe away all the constraints of this normal life. And I think to myself, I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow, but at least I've got today. So while I'm here today, I'm going to do something special with my life, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to achieve something that's going to inspire others and make a difference to their lives.
I love the demeanor. I love the outlook in life, and I hope our viewers are picking up something from Mr. Pat Farmer here. Pat, I'll put you temporarily in our virtual backstage. Okay, I'll bring in the only rose amongst the thorns and Samantha Pruitt and Sam. I know that you're still in your hotel, right? As
I
you will
am
be ending your quarantine tomorrow, your
tomorrow.
mandated 14-day quarantine, and I know that background every time I would see your training videos the past 14 days. Okay, I jump into you. So Pat's story was it was designed by God. His journey, he was inspired by Cliff Young. I'd like to hear your story. What pushed you to decide at the age of 30 to get out of that couch and rebuild your body, your mind, and your entire life? Please, Sam, tell us that story.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was not a fit, active child, and I didn't have any real knowings of a healthy lifestyle either. So for me, I found fitness much later. It really, the biggest catalyst was, when I was younger, I had a lot of issues with mental and emotional health and made a lot of bad choices. And then in young adulthood, that kind of continued on. So I had a few moments already over the course of my upbringing to understand that my physical body and my mental body were connected, but yet I never really understood until I got into my late 20s. I had a health crisis. I ended up developing an autoimmune disease, which won't kill you. Thank goodness for that. But I didn't know what was wrong with me, and they couldn't diagnose it. So I was very sedentary, very stressed out. I was making poor lifestyle choices, and I was quite heavy. So I was about 55 pounds heavier than I am now. And I got to the point where I really couldn't make it through the day. I felt horrible. I couldn't sleep well. I couldn't think straight. I didn't have any energy to be with my family and really enjoy life. And I had just one moment where it literally just was a crisis moment for me. I remember just being in the bathroom and just thinking
Mm-hmm.
that I was probably going to die. I wasn't even 30 years old yet, because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and all I knew was that life was being literally sucked out of me every day. So I made a decision that day to quit my job and change my life radically and go back to school and study holistic health. So that is where I found out that nutrition, exercise, and stress reduction are actually free tools to take care of this one body that we're all given and this one brain. And so I started to learn those tools and practice those tools. And so in that process, I found exercise. I started working out, eating well, taking care of my body, my mind, and my spirit.
Wow.
And over the course of a few years, I did lose 50 pounds. I found endurance
Wow.
sports. Yes, all naturally. I found endurance sports. And when I found endurance sports and running in particular,
Uh-huh.
I was just changed forever. So that's where it all kind of started. And that was the catalyst for my big transformation.
And it it just happened in a snap, Sam. I mean, you just woke up one day and said, "Oh, you know, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have this 180-degree turn and change." And no, what? How should I put it? Withdrawal symptoms from separation from your couch and from all those treats that you that you used to
Well,
like.
it was a process. It was a process. And in that process, I did actually become a coach myself. So I became a personal
Okay.
trainer. I became a running coach. I went into triathlon. So I am a triathlete and an Ironwoman. I became a triathlon coach. I started a running club and a triathlon club. So I did all these things to build a lifestyle around what I needed for my best life. So, how could
Uh-huh.
I be physically healthy in this one body I've been given? How can I take care of my brain and my heart and my spirit to the best of my ability? So, I surrounded myself and created a lifestyle where those things would become habits. In the process of changing all my bad habits into new habits, and no, that definitely wasn't the snap of a finger or overnight. It was a process, but I found so much about myself in endurance sports. That was a big part of helping me really continue on the journey rather than trying out fitness for a little while, losing weight because it was about the weight. Really, it wasn't. It was about me feeling good and me living my life's purpose, to be honest. And I
Hmm.
knew the path I was on, that was not going to happen.
I read in your bio from as short as a 5 mile run to as long as 150, and then you're an ultra marathoner. You're an ultra woman, an iron woman, an adventure racing athlete. Wow, I mean, from a couch potato, how did you get into all of those? Wasn't it
Yeah.
enough that you just got off the couch and then uh just to lead a healthy lifestyle, you had to go through these extreme measures and
Mm.
extreme races?
Well, believe me, the first 5K I ran was horrendous. It was hideous. It hurt. It was awful. I thought I never wanted to do anything like that again. Um, but I did continue because I built community in endurance sports. And so that was a big part of the reward system. I built a healthier life for my family. And so mentoring and being a role model for my family was very important to me. And so I slowly started to play in the racing world, not as a competitive athlete at all, as simply a woman showing up, just trying to get to the finish line. And through that experiment of committing to a race, which
Uh-huh.
means investing in myself, committing to the training, which means investing in myself, putting in the time, putting the effort, the energy, I slowly rebuilt myself. So I rebuilt my body, but I also rebuilt, who I was in the world. And so if
Hmm.
in the course of that rebuilding, challenging or adversity is what actually makes every single one of us stronger, healthier, smarter, more successful. All of the things that we all want in our lives come from adversity. So through that challenge is where the growth is. And so that's what I was seeking, was the growth. So I had to continue to find opportunities for adversity,
Uh-huh.
and I just decided endurance sports was where I was going to find my adversity, and I still continue to this day, including why I'm here in Australia. Um, I've never done anything this big in my life either. I'm the ex couch potato. I'm the underdog of this whole event. So, but I'm showing up because I believe in what's possible. I believe in myself, and I believe in this cause.
You mentioned that you feed off adversity, right? To
Mm.
push you to challenge yourself. Coming into this race, Sam, what was the longest distance that you have engaged yourself in, or the toughest? Maybe not the longest, but the toughest race that you have joined, and how many days did it take you to finish it? If it's about the distance.
Hmm. So I've run 150 over 5 days. This is going to be 250 over 10 days.
Okay.
So here, each of us will run for 10 days straight, and we'll run individually 250 miles, collectively 1,000 as a team.
Wow. Okay. So you've tried the 150 before in 5 days, right?
Yes.
And
I've
then
never
this
run
time,
across, all my teammates have run across countries and done just
and you
phenomenal
haven't.
things. None of that. I've done none of that. I'm a 52-year-old female,
How
mother,
young? Say it again. How
grandmother.
young?
I'm 52. So
52.
yes, and I believe that I should be here, and I feel strongly that this is exactly where I should be at this point in my life, and I'm ready to do it.
Wow. Okay. So I've had so many chats with you when we were doing events for World Obstacle, and I know that when you put your mind into it, you're a tough nut to crack, and
Yeah.
I know that you're gonna go all out come August 14 until August 24. Okay. I'll go into a different side of Sam here. 20 years of your life, or 20 plus years of your life, you have dedicated as you mentioned, you became a coach as well, into inspiring thousands and coaching hundreds to use sports, endurance sports, in fact, outdoor adventure, human and then human connection as powerful tools for change, right, in their own lives. And what pushed you to do this? Is it because of your own experiences, your own day of realizing I'm 30, I got to get out of this couch and do something good for my body, for my family, for myself? Was that your main, um, should I say, main inspiration in doing the same thing for people and creating dents in their respective lives?
Hmm. Initially, I became a coach because I understood the power of endurance sports. And I wanted to help other people transform their own physical bodies and their minds, and then ultimately their lives, using endurance sports as the vehicle for that change. I know how powerful that is. I know it's real. And I've been there. I've had all the things, right? All the excuses and all the challenges. I have experienced most or many of them. So I feel like I have always been able to relate to other humans, and I want to help them not suffer. I understand what that darkness and that suffering feels like, what it looks like. I've been there, and I want to
Hmm.
help people out of that. And then I continue to do it now today in a much bigger, broader role, because what I learned over all of this time coaching and working with other humans is that every single person has value,
Hmm.
worth, and potential that they have yet to explore, whether society has told them that or they've told themselves they believe that they maybe are not worthy or do not have the potential or the capacity for living their best lives. And I believe that they do. So I want to do everything I can to provide opportunities and inspiration so that people will invest in themselves and really commit to making a difference in their own lives.
You mentioned your age already earlier, Sam. 52, young at 52, but already soon to be a grandma, or already a grandma, right? The one is on the
I
way,
have
right?
I have 5 grandchildren, and I have 1 more on
Woo!
the way.
So it's coming into
Yes.
six already. Okay.
Mhm.
Until what age do you think will you keep on inspiring people and doing these challenges and searching for these adversities that you mentioned in order to make a better Sam and in order to inspire others? How, until what
Yes.
age, Sam?
Oh, Chiki, I won't stop till I'm dead. So there will be a race in some moment somewhere, and I'll be in the desert or the mountains or wherever I'll be, and that will be the end of my story. And I'm totally fine with that. But I won't stop. I definitely envision myself being the oldest lady still crossing the finish line by the skin of her teeth in the last second of the game. That's definitely how I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to see that day wherein I'm the race announcer and I'll be calling you and Pat into the finish line. That would be a nice scene, right? That
That
would
would
be a
be
nice
great.
scene. I
That
will
would
be
be
looking
great.
forward to that. I hope we could set up something like that. Okay, so now I'll put you in the virtual background. I'll put back Patrick Farmer in the show because we're going. You said until you can do this, until you can keep on making a story, Sam. Let's talk about the main story for a show here. And Pat, I'll put you back in. You're already here on our screen here. 1,000 miles to light. Okay. Let's talk about this event happening on August 14 until the 24th of August. What pushed you, Pat, to mount or create this event?
Well, I had a very dear friend of mine, a young man who was the life of the party. He loved his triathlons, he loved his marathons, and even his fun runs. And he was at everything that was on around the place, and he was prolific in posting on Facebook and so many social media channels all about the wonderful experience he'd had that particular day with other runners and other cyclists and other swimmers. When the pandemic hit, we were all put into lockdown. Everybody was in lockdown, right? Not only in Australia, but indeed right around the world. And
Mm-hmm.
he had a very dark moment, and he took his life. And
Oh,
his father contacted me, and he told me, and I was absolutely shocked because I thought he was such a happy person and such a person that wouldn't be affected by that sort of thing. But the fact of the matter is that he had struggled with mental health issues a lot of his life and depression a lot of his life. And the way that he dealt with it was by being out around other people, by doing things, by running, by cycling, by swimming, and just by interacting with other people and having those people around him. That's what made him happy. As soon as that was taken away from him, he lost his light. And so that's why I was so determined to make this run happen. This run is called 1,000 Miles to Light because we will, as teams, both Team USA, Team Australia, run 1,000 miles by the time we complete this journey. And we will do that in relay. We will do that not just man against man, but man against woman, woman against man. We'll be handing over a baton every 5 kilometres, which is actually a message stick which represents the Aboriginal communities here in Australia. And we will do this, and we will inspire people by our efforts, by our footsteps, and by completing the journey. Over and above racing the journey, we will inspire people by completing the journey, because 1,000 miles in anybody's language is a long way, and we'll do that. So, and hopefully along the way too, we will also be able to raise significant funds through the website that we've set up, 1,000 Miles to Light, and through the charity that we're supporting called the Reach Out Foundation. So Reach Out, you can probably see the sign behind me, reachout.com. So they are a charity here in Australia that supports young people with mental health issues, suffering depression, and they help them. So my job through this run is to try and raise funds for them, to help them to expand their services and help more people. But it's also to expand the knowledge of the work that they are doing, so that other people just keep their eyes out for each other, and they support each other. They care about each other. At the end of the day, somebody who is suffering depression really needs someone just to say to them, "Are you okay?" And so that's the purpose of the run. The run is supported by the Australian Army, who have been absolutely magnificent in their support for this event. One, they recognise the importance of mental health, but in Australia, the Army supports many civilian services. They are there through our bushfires, our floods, many of the problems that we experience as the nation that we are, that is susceptible to many weather conditions, cyclones, etc. And so they've stepped up to the plate and said, if you're going to do this, if you and the runners are going to do this, then we'd be happy to support you. So they'll be providing our tents every night. They'll be setting up our bunks for us. They'll be cooking for us, and they'll be driving the support vehicles to support us from point A to point B over the 1,000 miles.
Wow. Okay. So a couple of questions on what you've shared, Pat. So reachout.com will be the one helping you, one of the many supporters, right? So let's say I'm not from Australia, I'm from another country. I see this event, I go to your website. Can I still help? Can I donate? I just go to reachout.com.
Oh yes. You can there's a donate button. You can just press on that donate button. It will take you to their website, and you'll be able to make a donation there. So look, any amount helps. Any amount's going to make a difference to be able to support young people. And I'd like to say this too. This event was originally going to be 16 teams from all over the world. And because of the pandemic, we had to narrow it right down to only 2 teams. Ideally, I would love to have a team from the Philippines participate in this event in 1 year's time from now, so next year. So I want to throw out the challenge there to everybody to get a team together, a team of 4 runners, and work together and come to Australia. The invitation is out there. Come to Australia and participate in this event next year.
You know what? to our viewers, this is something that we haven't talked about, me and Pat, okay? But I like that idea. We can talk offline about that, Pat, and I can throw in a couple of teams and people probably, and some sponsors probably here in the Philippines who'd love to field a team of Filipinos to join you and Team Australia, Team USA, and as using the words of Samantha, we're gonna crush it too, and
Yeah, great, good.
okay. Um, so sorry to hear about your friend. Really, health issues. It's always been here, right? But especially during the pandemic, when you go out and not be able to do what you're so used to doing, it really hits all of us, right?
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that you're having this event to raise awareness for that, especially for the young ones, right? So am I right in guessing, Pat, that this is not just a one-off event? Apart from what you've shared with me, like you're inviting Team Philippines probably in a year's time, are we going to expect more races that involves awareness on mental health issues for the youth and for other people coming from Pat Farmer?
Oh yes, absolutely. My goal is to make this the biggest ultra marathon event in the southern hemisphere, and to do that within just 3 years. So we have the support of, like I said, of organisations such as the Australian Army, the Australian government behind this, Tourism Australia. So there is a lot of people that want this thing to grow, this event to grow, and to encourage the whole world to come to Australia. Most people would know that Australians are very hospitable people. That we just like the Filipino people.
Mm-hmm.
We just love interacting with other people. We love being around other people. We love sharing our home and highlighting all that we have to offer. Just as the Philippine does. I've seen a lot of the tourism videos about the Philippines, and of course, I'm very keen to come over there and to run big miles through many of the islands in the Philippines, and to do that because I've seen such amazing places, and I just want to visit those places. But so too, we have some unusual and some amazing places here in Australia, and
Mm-hmm.
anybody that follows the 1,000 Mile to Light run as it unfolds will see numerous kangaroos jumping all around the place, and of course, just the typical Australian bush that we've all come to know and love, with the birds, the parrots, the people, and the characters that are out there.
For the benefit of our viewers, Pat here has been to the Philippines about 6 times already, and apart from loving the running community and the natural love of Filipinos towards any sporting event, right? Any sporting activity, he also remembers our beer, San Miguel beer. Oh,
San
imagine.
Miguel,
So,
I love it. I love it. I
so
love it.
when you and Samantha come over, okay, I hope in the near future we'll run together with my director, of course, and have that nice ice cold San Miguel beer pale pilsen. Okay,
Thank you very
uh,
much. I look forward to that. And
and
one other thing I would like to say is Manny Pacquiao is my favorite. I think he's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing athlete and a wonderful gentleman as well. And I've seen some of the things that he has done with his prize money and with his fame, to support those less fortunate within his own country. And so, that's the sort of athlete I look on.
love to hear that. Love to hear that, Pat. So we're gonna check. Pat, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So August 21, just to inject, August 21 and 21 in the U.S., 22 in the Philippines. Manny Pacquiao will take center stage again. So hope you
Yeah.
catch that bout. Okay, Pat, I'll go a little bit technical into the race. Okay, a couple of questions here about the race. I know you touched on it a while ago. Maybe it was Samantha, but how will the load be divided per person per team? You said 1,000 miles. right
Yep.
from all the way to the Lighthouse. How will it be divided amongst four people?
The reason why I've developed the race the way that it is because many people see a very, very long distance like this as being something that they switch off to because it's just too far for them to possibly imagine. So I've devised this run around running 160 kilometers a day or 100 miles a day.
Uh-huh.
And we will hand over a baton every 5 kilometers or every 3 miles. And so to the next runner. And so we will share the load all the time between 4 runners on our team. And that's why I'm saying that there will be a point in time when the female runners are running against the male runners, male runners are running against the female runners. So it's completely gender neutral. It's completely a fair and a great way for everybody to compete on a level playing field. The
Yeah.
interesting, and it makes it interesting because we're handing over the baton every 5 kilometers. And so then the ultra runners have got a chance to refresh themselves, to get a quick massage, a quick rub down,
Yeah.
and before they're ready to go again. And by doing that, you will bring out the best in the athletes, the fastest speeds, and the strongest they possibly can be. And it looks good on TV. It'll look good on camera, which is what I'm trying to project. I need this event to appeal to the wider market, not just ultra runners, not just ultra athletes, but to everybody, so that
Mm-hmm.
people can just emulate a 5 kilometer stint, or they can get together as teams themselves and try and match our distances as well.
So that's 5 kilometers per person. Then you pass over the baton. I'm doing my math right now, using kilometers and then converting it to miles. So it's about
Yeah.
8 sets of 5 kilometers per person, right?
Correct. So on each day, every individual will do 40 kilometers.
Woo!
Uh,
Like a full
uh,
marathon
so
there.
yeah. So they'll do 40 kilometers, then they'll back up again the next day and the next day and the next day. Here's an interesting thing, though. If something happens with one of the athletes and they get
Uh-huh.
injured, or they're just so worn out that they can't carry on, the other three still have to do the same distance. So
What?
there's a very real chance, and this is why we're all ultra athletes. There is a very real chance that it could come down to one or two or maybe three runners that instead of running 40 kilometers each on every day, that they are running 60 or 80 or maybe even the whole distance themselves.
Wow. I mean, God forbid that anything bad would happen to your runners. I
Yeah.
hope all of them will be okay for the duration of the 10 days, because you mentioned one or two, if they get injured, the load will be transferred, right? Will be
Yes.
transferred and will be carried over to the remaining runners of the team. My goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, how about the camp? You touched on it earlier that the Australian Army will be with both Team USA and Team Australia for the rest of the 10 days. How about the camp? Where will they pitch tents? Where will they stop? The support crew. I mean, is there a particular um area or in Australia that you have to reach by the end of the day? Or if you say at this point it was a slow 40K, it's nighttime already. Where do we pitch? Where do they pitch the tents and stop for the night?
Oh no, this is the pressure that's put on through a race situation. It's because we have to do those distances every single day so that we can stay on track all the way through to the finish. So with that in mind, we will be running into into certain towns that are the correct distances along, and
Uh-huh.
the army will pitch the tents for us. So sometimes they'll be on the outskirts of town so that we can start off easy the next day without traffic or without people around, or without too many people around at the start. And so they will pitch those tents at designated parkland areas in the native bush off to the side. We've already worked with the local councils to determine where those areas will be on route so that we can do that distance day in, day out for 10 days.
Okay. Wow. So it's a total production, right? For the support crew, for the Australian Army and everything.
Yeah,
Everyone
it
in your
certainly is.
team.
Yeah, and then they'll set up, and of course they'll set up a cook tent as well, and they'll be cooking the meals for the runners. Sometimes there'll be a fire lit by them that will sit around the campfire, and we'll get the race briefing for the next day, all those sorts of things. And it's that sort of thing that will look great on camera, because we'll be highlighting the Australian outback, the stars up in the heaven, all of the runners together, eating together, and sharing that camaraderie as well.
My goodness, I could just imagine the preparations for the whole 10 days. You mentioned um the army and everybody else will be helping in preparing the food, right? So let's talk about nutrition and hydration.
Mhm.
Am, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you gonna prepare something that's good for all 8 athletes, or did you get their specific nutrition requirements or requests for the duration of the 10 days? How will it be prepared? How will it be given to each team?
Yes, well, all of the runners were given the opportunity to talk to the army or relay those messages through me as to what type of food they will eat. So some people are vegetarians, some people are vegans, some people have special dietary requirements, but the army has catered for everybody, and so they'll make sure that everybody gets the food that they need to fuel themselves, and not only the food, but also the fluids that they need to fuel themselves through, in some cases, very, very hot days. So all of your listeners would know isotonic drinks, that's
Yeah.
drinks that replace the potassium and the magnesium in our bodies that we lose when we sweat, are very, very important. Protein drinks are very, very important to be able to help us
Uh-huh.
to rebuild our muscle and conserve our strength. And then, other things, so on and so forth from there. And then, of course, there's nothing I love more at the end of a day than to be able to sit back and to relax and just have just one nice beer. I am Australian after all.
That would be nice at the end of the 1,000 miles. Make it
Yeah,
plural. Just beers.
yeah.
Just more
Beers.
than
Yeah.
one. That would
Okay.
be nice. Um, and you mentioned about the food, right? It's gonna. You gave the chance to the athletes to mention what they want. So a friendly shout out to Sam, who's waiting in the background. The treats that you brought all the way from California. Don't worry, Sam. You're not gonna run out. Because she posted on Instagram that she showed her bag of treats, right? And she said, "Oh, I'm trying to save these come the race day." Sam, don't worry, you're not gonna run out.
There'll be plenty.
Pat Farmer and the rest of the Australian Army, they got your back. All the treats will be there. Pat, let's talk about coverage. You've been mentioning live TV and on so on and so forth. So, are you saying that there would be a live crew going with you from August 14 to 24, and where can the viewers catch this?
Yes, there will be. You'll be able to view a lot of the film footage through the 1,000 Miles to Light website. So they simply
Okay.
just Google 1,000 Miles to Light. They'll be able to see it there. We also have media partners, like here in Australia, the Nine Media, which covers radio, print media, and also television. So
Uh-huh.
Channel 9 in Australia, we are program called the Today Show, and we will be doing regular updates to them and interviews to them. We also have KO. You might see KO on the backdrop here behind me. KO is a sports specific television station here in Australia.
Uh-huh.
They're linked in with Foxtel, and so they will be running the documentary when it is finished. And the film crew will be filming a documentary as well. So that documentary will be made and go to air after the event's over. And that'll be available for people to be able to see in many countries around the world. So we're trying to get the message out right around the globe about this event, so that we can
Yeah,
encourage people from all over the world to participate next year.
I love that. So don't forget to our viewers, at 1,000 miles to light. Okay, you type it as you pronounce it. Again, at 1,000 miles to light. Go to their Facebook page, and I'm sure it's clickable there. Find out how you can watch live on August 14 until the 24th. Okay, Pat, now it's your turn to go to the virtual backstage. I put Samantha back in. I'm sure she's laughing her heart out, knowing for a fact that the treats won't run out in the 10 days that she will be running with
I'll
all
be
the other.
fighting Pat. I'll be fighting Pat for that beer, though. Just to say, Team USA, Team Australia. I don't know. We'll see how this is going to go.
Now, here's
Treats
the
to hear.
competitive side of Samantha coming out already. Okay,
Sure, why not?
Sam, I go back to you. How did Team USA get involved in this fantastic, superb event that Patrick Farmer created?
Yeah, so I have the most amazing three teammates, Dean Carnassus, Katie Visco, and Shan Riggs. And how did we get involved? Well, Dean was the first to get involved with Pat on the project, and then
Okay.
Dean invited us to the team. So I think it's really interesting because our team dynamic is turning out to be phenomenal. We're all super different, and we all have very different strengths that we bring to the team in terms of not only our running skills, a lot of diversity there, but our personalities and
Uh
our
huh.
other skills that are equally critical than, besides just being able to run. When you run in a team race like this, you want your entire team to be strong for 1,000 miles for 10 days. Right. So a lot can go terribly wrong if you've ever worked in some of these or been in any of these events where it's team oriented, as you know, if the team dynamic is not healthy. So we worked really hard on that. We're all very, very committed. We have a ton of fun. We laugh a lot. And this quarantine situation, even though we're all completely isolated, independent from one another,
Uh huh.
has been really bonding for us to go through this challenging moment pre-race together. It took, a small miracle to get us here, and then it's still a small miracle till we get to this starting line. So we're all feeling incredibly grateful and pretty fired up. I'm just saying, Team USA is fired
I
up.
can just imagine. I can just imagine. I mean,
There's
I,
Katie. That's my sister. So we have two women, two men, just like the Australian team.
I will we'll show the lineup in a few, but I'd like to get your thoughts on um, the main cause for this run.
Oh
Your
yes.
thoughts on youth mental health, the crisis, right? The awareness that you want to
Yes.
raise, and the funds that you want to raise, and the awareness that you want people to have on
Yeah.
youth mental health. Your take on that, Sam?
Yeah, well, that's actually the reason I said yes, because we know we are still in a global pandemic. There's a lot of challenges going around, a lot of change, a lot of influx of lives and so forth, right? But when I
Mm-hmm.
found out the actual cause, because this is a very audacious thing for me to say yes to, when I found out the cause was youth mental health, I said yes immediately because I struggled from emotional issues and mental health issues when I was young, a teenager. It was super challenging for me, and I wish that there had been resources available for me. And luckily, I'm still here and standing, and I survived all of that. But I totally understand. And even as a grown woman in some of my challenging, dark times, struggling with life, as we all have done, everyone has challenges. I understand the critical nature of a person's emotional and mental health. So
Uh-huh.
that cause is very near and dear to my heart. The fact that we're doing it for the youth of Australia, when I
Mm-hmm.
learned that the leading cause of death for Australian youth ages 14 to 24 is suicide,
Wow.
I almost fell out of my chair and it really broke my heart.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's quite shocking. So, Reach Out is the nonprofit that puts programs together for youth here. It's completely free to their
Mm-hmm.
families, to the parents. They work with the schools and the teachers, and they work with, of course, the youth. So, how can we not get behind that and do everything possible to support the message around awareness, education, and then, of course, the support services?
Okay. Wow. Okay. Let me pick it up from there, Sam.
Mhm.
To my fellow Filipinos watching, reachout.com. If you can, please support it. Especially during these times wherein kindness is the best thing that we could do. It may not be directly for our youth, but believe it or not, when we help others, it's gonna return back to us a hundredfold. So
Yeah.
I appeal to my fellow Filipinos. If you're watching this, reachout.com. Doesn't matter how much you donate for as long as you donate. And believe me, you'll never know. Maybe we'll see Pat and Sam in the Philippines one day to do the same
Yes.
thing for us, right? To do the same thing for us.
Well,
And
so that's exactly right. And I will say just real quick, it's probably also easier if they go to thousandmilestolight.com and click the
okay,
donate button because Reach Out has a lot of programs, right? But we're specifically this event and Reach Out are working together for this particular cause.
oh,
So
okay,
it'd be better if they directly linked from thousandmilestolight.com. And then
okay.
the other thing I really want to talk about is the fact that people can run with us. We forgot to mention that.
Oh, virtually?
We have a virtual run. And so that's also at Thousand Miles to Light. Well, the
Wait a
coolest
minute.
thing,
So if I have a treadmill at home and I choose to run 10 days with you guys,
yes,
and
that's
let's
right.
say I have three other friends who might say, you know what, let's make our team
Let's
Chicky Ray is
throw
here.
down.
We can?
Yeah, and Cheeky, it's free. The virtual run
Oh.
is free.
Can we send, let's say, can people send photos and videos of them doing it to 1000 Miles to Light Facebook and just to show support that, hey, you know what, from, let's say, from
Yeah.
Philippines, from Vietnam, from
Yeah.
Australia, or from Canada, we're running with you guys. That can be done?
Yeah, so they sign up for the virtual run on thousandmilestolight.com and
Oh,
then they'll get an email with all the instructions about how to follow along and how to log your miles and all that kind of stuff. Some people might just want to do it to follow along. Maybe
uh-huh.
they'll run a little bit. They don't have to run for 10 days and they don't have to go off the, crazy train with mileage, but they could run a little bit every day for 10 days with us, or
Yeah.
they could run one day with us and then follow along on the adventure, whatever. We're happy with any and all of it. And frankly, we need to know, us 8 athletes, as we're suffering for 1,000 miles in 10 days, that there's an army of people like us, just like us, out there with us on this journey, that we are not
Uh-huh.
alone, just like they are not alone. So that's the reason the virtual run is free. We're super excited about that. So I wanted to make sure we promoted that.
You know what? I'm
Okay.
I'm gonna give this challenge to the Pinoys, Filipinos out there. If you
Okay.
can't go 1,000 miles, why not go, for example, 100 kilometers in 10 days? Oh, diba?
Yes.
And then do do 10 kilometers per day with your teammates, 2.5 kilometers each, for as long as you'd want to be with Team Australia and Team USA in spirit,
Mhm.
right? And then help
Exactly.
donate. That
Yep.
would be nice. I'll tell my friends. Probably we can do that on August 14th.
I love it.
You know. Okay, Sam. More. I asked earlier, Patrick, about the dynamics of Team Australia. Quickly on your end, two
Mm.
things. What would be the terrain be from Broken Hill to Byron Bay Lighthouse, and from a runner? I mean, a weekend warrior runner like me. What would be your target um, speed? Let's say per kilometer
Mm.
for Team USA. Are you allowed to share your strategy to
No,
Team Australia?
absolutely not. I couldn't share that.
Oh,
So let's talk about the terrain first. It is the Australian outback. So yes, there will be lots of kangaroos. The interesting thing is, it's going to be super cold at night.
oh,
Yes, like down to 0
are you
Celsius,
serious?
30 Fahrenheit. And then during the day, we could have highs of up to 90. So we have this very interesting pendulum swing
Yeah.
that we're going to have to adapt to because we start in the dark and we finish in the dark. So
Yep.
that's definitely going to be a thing, the weather, or the temperatures, I should say. And then the terrain was going to be gorgeous because Australia is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's another reason that I wanted to come here and see Australia. In terms of team strategies, it's so interesting. I mean, obviously, we do have a strategy and we all have a collective goal, and then we have our individual goals. We're very different runners. Like I said, we have different strengths. We've all trained very differently. And
Yeah.
so when we come together, the number one goal is that we will finish Team USA, all four standing. And how Team Australia is going to do against Team USA and vice versa. It's very hard to tell because it's a 10-day race. Anything could happen, but we also only wish them well. First of all, we're in their
Yeah. Of
country;
course.
they've welcomed us here, and they're also phenomenal human beings. So, however it slices down at the end of the day, fast, slow, or otherwise, we're not overly worried about it. It's friendly competition, and we're there to finish what we started.
I know both you and Pat will say it's a friendly competition, but in the backs of your mind, you'll say we're gonna crush it and we're gonna do our best. So
Yeah. Well,
it's fun to
remember,
see
I'm the
what will.
underdog. So, that is how I determine my personal drive of something of this magnitude or nature. It is definitely a personal and a collective challenge. And yeah, you got to go in strong mentally and physically.
Okay, so we will not go to the strategy
Mhm.
of Team USA. I will not divulge that. You're not going to share that yet. Okay. But we'll go. I want to dive into the preparations. Okay, preparations that you've been doing specifically with Team USA. You've been joined. You'll be joined rather by three other members of Team USA, and then we'll show the other names and faces so that people will be able to um, match the names with the faces. And if you can, Samantha, please do share with us the background or anything that you'd like to say about your three other teammates. And Direct, if you could please bring out Team USA. I believe Kate Visco, Shan
Ooh.
Riggs, and Dean Kernazes. Go ahead, Samantha. Walk us through your the background of your teammates here.
Well, like I said, they're phenomenal human beings foremost. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, they're exceptional runners. So, Katie is just this absolute beautiful creative spirit. I've gotten just so much out of hanging out with her, even though we're not in the same room, getting to know her. So, she's run across Australia,
Uh huh.
supported by her husband. He's the one there behind her on the bicycle. So completely self-supported across the country. He carried all of their stuff and rode the bike she ran. She was the youngest female to run across the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's another young gal right now attempting it. We'll see if that record gets broken. Katie's super creative. She has a film out right now. Actually, if you go to her Instagram, you will see a link to the film. And the film is a
Hmm.
short feature film about their story going across Australia. It is a must watch. You will learn a lot about Katie and her husband, of course, Henley, and her journey. And she's just very passionate about inspiring, in particular, young girls and women to find their passion and really go after their goals, their dreams, and let nothing stop them. So she's relentless.
Wow. Okay, that's Katie and
Yeah.
Dean and Shan.
Dean Carnassus, he is the ultimate ultra marathon man. Many people know him. He's written many books. He's been doing ultras for a very, very long time. He's a young man, but still a long time. So he's
Okay.
accomplished pretty much every race and every crossing that you can think of. But he's definitely, right now, he's got this book out that just came, A Runner's High.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are into reading books about running, check out Dean Carnassus. All of his books are amazing. But The Runner's High is out right now, and it's fantastic. It's about his story as an aging ultra runner and kind of coming to terms with where he's at in the sport and his life. And it's got some great stories in it.
Wow. Love that. Say the book title of the book again. Sorry.
A Runner's High.
A Runner's High. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
just
check that out.
Google Dean and it'll come up, Dean Carnassus. He is the ultra marathon man on Instagram.
Okay. How about Shan Riggs?
And then Shan Riggs. I
My
love
my
Shan
new my
Riggs.
new friend on Instagram, by the way. He started following me. Thank you, Shan.
Shan is amazing. He's a professional from the endurance sport industry, specializing in sponsorship sales and activations, actually. And he is a super beast runner. So he's also a very fast and talented runner. And the fun thing about Shan, besides the fact that he also ran across America during the pandemic and raised
Okay.
money for Feed America. So for basically people that needed food during the pandemic, raised a lot of money
Uh-huh.
for that. Besides that, the fun little thing about Shan is he's right above me right now in the hotel room directly
Oh, the
above
next
me.
floor. Okay.
And we both have treadmills and his is right above mine. So this whole time we've been in quarantine, every time he gets on the treadmill, I am more than well aware that Shan Riggs is running on the treadmill because that dude is hauling butt, and it's just so fun. It just makes me smile every time, and he's running a lot. So follow him also on social. He posts his workouts, his runs, and what he's been up to, and it's just just good humans, good human beings. I feel really it's a privilege to be on this team.
You mentioned that you guys have treadmills in your room, at least you and Shan, right? I know that prior to your arrival in Australia, you guys were doing your own respective trainings in America and USA, right?
Yep.
But when you got to Australia in Sydney, latter part of July, if I'm not mistaken, you had to abide by the safety protocols and do a 14-day quarantine, which will end tomorrow. And I remember you and I were chatting and saying, "Oh, chick, you know what? I'm here in the hotel. I have fantastic staff, but there are a lot of challenges, right? I mean, first of all, what time the food will be given? They're feeding you, but from the schedule of the food to the schedule of the training to the time difference, how has the training been for Team USA, particularly for Team USA, since you guys are quarantined in separate rooms for 14 days, and when you get out tomorrow, you're 1 week away from the actual event. How was it, Samantha?
Yeah. Well, luckily we do have treadmills and we do have some gym equipment. So for example, I have one kettlebell and I have a band. So we are all training. And actually I'd say quite diligently. I mean, a lot of us still have, or we all have some kind of job and stuff that we still have to do as well, but we're training. So while we're here, we can't leave the room since the moment we
Okay.
entered 14 days ago, and no one can come in the room. So there's no human contact. When they come to the door, basically they'll deliver the food, they knock, and you can't open the door. You have to wait for the human being to leave. Then you put on a mask
Okay.
and then you get your food. So there's no human contact. That's the most bizarre part, actually.
Uh-huh.
Because they're out there doing their diligent work, but you can't like converse or anything. So we have been having every other night we have a team happy hour. So we all get in and talk and we laugh and we tell stories and stuff. Crazy stuff happens when you're in quarantine, by the way. And in terms of the workouts, so I'll speak mostly for myself, but my teammates are not doing things too radically different. Is we're doing a lot of running. Obviously, we did before we came, but I also strength train 3 days a
Uh-huh.
week, and then for fun, I ride a mountain bike and I swim. But before I came, I was running 7 days a week for quite a long
Okay.
time, and I changed up my training to be at this 5K model because remember we're ultra runners, so we run
Yeah.
long, slow distance really well
Yeah.
in a variety of conditions. This event and the challenge that Pat has created with these 5Ks, it's a lot faster. The
Yep.
turnover is faster. So even though he's saying, they can rest and recover in between, you really can't because, every, let's say, 60 minutes, you're starting again. So it's
Yes.
not like you're taking a nap or anything, and you're doing that all day long. So we had to kind of shift our training to be this multiple 5Ks throughout the day. So on my birthday, for example, which was while I was in quarantine, I turned 52.
Oh, belated happy birthday.
Yay! So I ran 52K in the hotel room on my birthday, but I split it up into 5Ks. Well, actually, I ran 4 milers. So I ran 8 times. I ran 8 times over the course of that day, four
Uh-huh.
mile segments. And every day I run 3 or 4 times in here, and then I might do a strength workout too. And I know my teammates are doing similar stuff.
Wow, I can just imagine because you can't take your time in those 5Ks because if that
Right.
happens, then the rest period, right? The sleep period for the next day
You're
becomes
eating
shorter
into it.
and shorter. And you can't risk that. It might work for the first few days, but it's gonna take its toll on you, right? When
Yeah.
when you go down the stretch.
Yep. That's right.
Okay. Nice to have met virtually, Team USA, and shout out to your teammates, Kate, Shan, and Dean. If you're watching this on YouTube right now live, again, as mentioned, we'll be showing it later on Facebook. Apologies for that, some technical problems on our end, but don't worry, we'll be posting it on Thousand Miles to Light Facebook page and on the Facebook page of Sports Talk and Loaded. But to Kate, Shan, and Dean, special shout out to you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. Sam, I'll put you on the side first. I'll bring back Pat here. Same thing, Pat. On your end, um, please. I want to show Team Australia and tell us more about Greta, Deirdre, and Justin. Okay, direct. If you could show our Team Australia and tell us a bit about your teammates here, Pat.
Well, Justin is a club runner. Basically, so is Deidre and Greta as well. They're club runners, which means that they have a local club that they compete with on a regular basis in their own local area. Justin is quite a fast runner. He loves track work, and he loves speed workouts. So he'll be very good for the 5 kilometer stints. But to be able to see if he can maintain the speeds that he'll hit out at for the full duration of the event, that is yet to be seen. Justin came with me a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. We did a run in Uganda for the Love Mercy Foundation, and I organized that event. It was a similar format as this, a shorter distance, 500 kilometers, and Justin and we were doing 5 kilometer stints in that, and Justin stood up very well to all of that. He enjoyed it so much that he wanted to be part of this time around. Greta, down the bottom of the screen there, Greta is a fitness trainer. She's a little dynamo. She's always happy. She's always, even when she's in pain, she's still smiling and happy, and that's why we absolutely love to have her around. She has a massive following of runners here in Australia. She's very well known to the running fraternity, and her own fitness squad. She has about 280 clients that she trains on a regular basis. So she's got a great following, and she's a great person to boot. She's very resilient, very strong. And she's just a little dynamo, so she's a great person to be around, and she'll add a lot to the atmosphere of this particular event. So follow her on Facebook and on Instagram. She's tremendous. And then there's Deidre Hopkins. Deidre, I've been running with Deidre in recent times, and man, she is so difficult to stay up with. She is a very, very tenacious, tough, strong runner. She's an Irish Australian. Australia, as all of you and your listeners would know, or your viewers would know, Australia is a melting pot of so many different nationalities. We have many Filipinos here in Australia, but regardless of which corner of the globe anybody came from, they're all Australians in our eyes. And so Deidre came over here over 20 years ago, and she works at the university now. She is a wonderful, tenacious, very strong runner, and she's just once again just a lovely person to be around. She doesn't whinge or complain about anything. Even during lockdown, I've had to cook a few meals for the other runners, and she hasn't even complained about my cooking. So that says a lot.
I guess you're a good cook, Pat. I mean,
well, I don't know. You can't go too far wrong with tin soup or a salad.
So it's Justin, Deirdre, and Greta for, of course, with Pat Farmer for Team Australia. You mentioned that a lot of Filipinos there. Just special shout out to the Phil Oz Try community led by Joey Guerrero. It's a big community there, and they love promoting the sport of triathlon as well in that part of Australia. So Joey Guerrero, thanks if you're watching, thank you for watching. Now, unlike Team USA, Pat, wherein they had to stay in respective rooms the past 14 days, which will end tomorrow, as I mentioned. For Team Australia, how was the training like for you, for Greta, for Deirdre, and for Justin in time for the August 14 event?
Yeah, for us, it's what happened was here in Sydney, so things were fine for a while, and then it seemed to be just about 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden, Sydney had an outbreak of COVID, and everything got shut down. Everything got locked down. So we had to make some very, very quick, snap decisions. The Army personnel that is supporting the run, they went into hotel quarantine. The Americans, of course, went straight into hotel quarantine from the airport, and the Australian runners had to go into hotel isolation or home isolation. So we haven't, so we've had a similar sort of scenario where we haven't been with each other, but we've been able to communicate with each other via Zoom calls and, of course, our phone calls, etc., etc. I actually went into lockdown with my film crew and Brooke, who is managing the socials and the media side of things. And Brooke is also my daughter, by the way. So we've been in lockdown here, and it's a different scenario. My heart goes out to the American runners and the dedication they have provided. It can't be easy for them just to be on their own and away from their loved ones and their families. But they are so committed, and that has to be admired by everybody right around the globe, especially to do that in a foreign country. So I have the greatest respect for them. I think at the end of the day, of course, this is a competitive event, but at the end of the day, as Sam quite rightly said, it's all about us finishing what we've started. And the most important thing that we can do as far as finishing is concerned is try and make a difference to people's outlooks, to a lot of young people in particular, their outlooks on life, and to show them that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, that we will all get through this pandemic, we'll get through it together, and that we must have hope for the future, and we must look towards the future. That is most important. And that's one of the great things the runners and all athletes do, is they set a goal for themselves, and then they work towards it until they achieve that goal. An athlete without a goal, without a dream is not an athlete, so they always have to have a new event to aim towards, and that's what keeps us going. And so we're trying to share that same spirit with the general population as well, and make sure that they start setting themselves new goals for themselves. They get involved, and as Sam quite rightly said, get involved in the virtual run as well. Run along beside us. Send us notes. Let us know. We'll answer your questions. The American runners, the Australian runners, will answer your questions. Drop us a line via any of the social pages, or jump onto the 1,000 Miles to Light site and send us a message.
I'll take you up on that challenge and invitation. My wife and I will register for that virtual participation. And although we won't run the 1,000 miles, we'll probably remove a couple of zeros and make it into the measurement is kilometers instead of miles. But we'll join you on August 14th. So you just shared with us that the terrain is pretty much the same. Isolation as well for Team Australia. You have to do that too. But of course, special mention to Team USA, because apart from the isolation that they've had, they have to do this outside of their country. Now, I'm going to the next a part of our show here, the next segment. And Direct, I'd like to bring in Sam back in. So all three of us now, because although the event will still happen on August 14, after that, August 24, quickly, I want to find out what's next for Pat Farmer and Samantha Pruitt. I mean, after that 1,000 Miles to Light, what will happen to Pat? What will happen to Sam? Any other events lined up for you guys? We'll start with Sam.
I'm hoping Pat goes on vacation.
Well, how about you, Sam?
I'm on vacation. I'm in Australia
after the event.
I'm just teasing you. Yes, actually, I have a 100-mile race I'm running in September. So I don't know, 3 weeks after I get home or something like that. And then we'll see what's happening for the winter time. Still in America and the United States, there aren't a ton of races available. So I'm really mostly gearing up now for 2022. I'll run my first 240-miler solo nonstop next year in Utah. So I'll do a bunch of things leading up to that, and then whatever fun adventures I can find, because I'm not getting any younger. Okay, so I need to get busy. I need to get busy.
But you told me that you're gonna keep on doing this until you can no longer run, right?
That is correct. I will be the last old lady standing, so be prepared.
Hey, I'm gonna bring you back to the show, okay, for that 240-mile run in Utah. Am I right?
Great. Yes.
So we'll set up another one
Non-stop.
for that. How about
no sleeping, no camping, no one's feeding you, none of that. So this will be glamorous, right?
My goodness. Okay, that's at least 1/4, right, of the distance you're gonna run with the team. How about you, Pat? what happens to Pat Farmer after August 24?
Oh, well, for me, I'll be going straight into helping the production to make sure that the film gets out there as quickly as possible. So that's the first and foremost thing. So we want everybody to see what the film looks like and to see our efforts, both here in Australia and internationally. The second thing is Sam and I have had some very brief discussions, but I've mentioned to Sam how much I would love to do something in Alaska, run in
Mm.
Alaska. I love these remote parts of the world, or jungles, or different parts of the world, and getting to these places and participating in runs there, or if there's not a run on already, inventing one and making one happen. So I'm looking forward to collaborating with the Americans in this instance, and indeed continuing to run in various parts of the world. Every single year of my life over the last over the last 10 years anyway, with the exception of the lockdown that we've had in COVID, because of COVID, I've run a different country, the length of a different country, or in a different country. So I see myself as an international citizen. I see myself as a sport diplomat as far as
Hmm.
Australia is concerned, and so I just love traveling the world and running in races all around the place. So I'm very much looking forward to trying to do something, trying to organise something in the Philippines. In fact, we might even organise a qualifying event in the Philippines with the same sort of structure that we've got with this race, but on a smaller scale, so that people could actually qualify, and then the best team that the Philippines has to offer out of that qualification would come across to Australia and compete in my race next year.
You know what? That would be a good idea. And then whoever you're gonna speak with in my country, put us in, me and Direct Nick, because we'd love to join Team Philippines and we'll document the whole thing
Fantastic.
and come up with our own video as well if you'd like, right? That would be
I'd like
really nice.
Yeah, I'd like that very much, because, as Sam mentioned earlier on, all of this running business, it's really all about more than the running. It's really all about bringing the whole world together.
Yeah,
My
agree.
footsteps from the North Pole to the South Pole, down through North America, Central America, and South America, was really to show everybody that the world's not that big a place, and that we all
Mhm.
inhabit this place together. We all share it together. And if we all work together and we all care about each other, instead of seeing something as another country's problems, we're all part of the one family. It doesn't matter which corner of the globe we're in. If we look out for each other, we help each other, this whole globe will be a much better place, and our own lives will be enriched by that as well.
I love it. I love it. So, wow, I'm checking the clock. We've been chatting for about an hour and a half already, and I know our plan was to go up until 8:30 in your time. Just a few more minutes if you would allow me,
So,
because we're going to the my favorite segment, one of my favorite segments in the show. I call this picture talk. Okay, so I told you guys that I dug into your respective Facebook accounts
Oh.
and we got some photos. We're gonna flash some photos and quickly tell us a story behind that photo. Okay, picture talk. We'll start with Samantha direct. Um, what pictures were you able to pull out? Okay, this one, running in heaven, sure feels like hell.
And that was my bib number too. That's when I ran from Colorado to Utah in the middle of summer. And it was, like 120 degrees. That's why I said it felt like running through hell. It is gorgeous though, and I loved every minute of it. But that's how I felt that day.
You know
Hmm.
what, Sam? I love your photos. If you haven't followed Samantha Pruitt, please do on
The Samantha
Instagram
Pruitt. The Samantha Pruitt.
and on other social media platforms. Okay, direct the second picture for Sam. This is interesting. Okay, where is this? You're smiling here.
Oh yeah, that was at Berkeley. Yeah, that's Berkeley. Dick Collins 50 miler. I was qualifying for Western States. So I was happy because I knew I was actually going to make the time cutoffs. And I thought I felt like crap the day before. So I thought, oh. But yeah, that's in the Berkeley Hills, California.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, I already saw the third picture, and this is probably one of my favorite pictures that Direct was able to pull out.
Yeah,
Where
that's
is
the top of
this? I
Mount
love
Whitney.
this.
Top of Mount Whitney. Yeah,
Wow.
that was a day in the life. Everyone has to get up Whitney. Actually, any mountain. Get up any mountain. All mountains are good. Any mountain as high as you can get. But yeah, Whitney is the highest in the Western United States, right? 14,800 feet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was a good day.
Oh, nice. Very nice indeed.
See,
Direct,
thumbs up.
thank you for those fantastic pictures. I go to Pat Farmer now because 35 years of running experience, and it's so difficult to choose pictures from the many pictures of Pat. But Direct, I think we have four pictures, right, of Pat Farmer. This one first. Pat, where is
So
this?
this one was in Newcastle, on a beach in Newcastle in New South Wales, and that was on New Year's Day. So I wanted to start the year off by competing
Oh.
in it was just a simple 5K run, but there was a lot of people doing it. We have a movement in Australia called Park Run, and they do 5K runs. So I thought I'd go out there and participate in that, and then speak to all the athletes afterwards. It was a great day, a beautiful way to start the year.
I tried doing that, my New Year's resolution to run on January 1, and it actually ended on January 2, the following day. So,
Kiki,
okay,
we're gonna have a conversation.
picture number 2 for Pat Farmer. Oh, nice. Okay,
Oh,
walk us through this one, Pat.
yeah, that's my race doctor beside me, and of course myself on the left side of the screen as you're looking at it. This was the race in India. I did a run for the length of India from Kanyakumari through to Kashmir. It was
Mm.
around just under 6,000 kilometers total distance. I did that run. I was running 50 mile or 80 kilometers a day during that run,
Oof.
and I was raising funds for girls' education called the Nani Kali Foundation. And I spoke at many schools along the way during the course of my running days. And yeah, it was a great experience, a wonderful way of seeing the country. And I had phenomenal support from everyone in the community. There were some times when I would have literally thousands of people surround me, come around me to greet me and to talk to me, and I'd have to climb up on top of the car to speak to them so that I could breathe. It was great.
Wow.
It was a great
80,
event.
80 kilometers a day.
Yeah, 50 mile. Yeah.
My goodness. Okay. Picture number 3, Direct. I'm shaking my head here I'm at awe at your stories here. This one,
Oh
Pat,
yeah.
walk us through this one.
Oh well, that one's still part of the run in India, but that was getting up towards the top end of India, and I was just waiting for the crew to catch up before I'd been and spoken at a school. It was extremely hot that particular day, and I was feeling a little faint, so I sat down while I was waiting for my crew to rush over some drinks. So yeah, it was which just goes to show. Look, it doesn't matter how good you think you are. Every
Uh-huh.
single day is a struggle, and you're only as good as the last race you did. So it's about just backing up and pushing on. And I like these shots because they remind me of the barriers that I've been able to push through.
Agree with you. The human side of every super athlete, right? Now, we have this last photo, and
Yeah.
I
Oh, that's
just like Sam, this is one of my favorite photos because I want you to walk us through this one.
Yeah, well, that race, that was once again the run in India, the length of India, and that was at the
Ah,
finish, and
okay.
up there in the mountains
Uh-huh.
at that was in Kashmir, and it was unbelievable, an unbelievable finish. Thousands of people around, TV stations everywhere. My crew were elated. We'd been through every single weather condition you could possibly imagine, every single human up and down that you could go through. But we survived it. We did well, and like I said, those little girls, we were able to raise money for them to be able to get an education, and it made me feel very, very good. It was a beautiful part of the world.
Love it. Wow, I love the picture talk segment that we had there. Now we're nearing the end of our show here. We're on our last segment already, and I'd like to talk more, but we're running out of time here. I call this part the 1,000 miles to light, inspiring and motivating the world. Pat and Sam, the whole world is not yet out of the woods, and we all know that. With the variants of the virus or the disease, they continue to come out, right? But with that being said, and using your event as a tool, what would be your overall message to everyone who is actually going through their own unique tough times, coping with the situation? I'll start with you, Pat. What's your message for everyone watching us right now?
Just I want everyone to remember that there is nothing more resilient than the human spirit. We've been through so many things over the ages, from the dawn of time to this moment. We've been able to overcome that and push on. So remember the strength of your spirit, and remember this: there is no force on earth greater than your will. If you want to do something, anything with all your heart, you can, and you will find a way.
Wow. Pat Farmer representing Team Australia. I jump to Team USA. Sam, your final thoughts, final message for everyone watching us right now, and would like to be inspired by people like you and like Pat, who once upon a time was just like everybody else before becoming ultramarathoners. Go ahead, Samantha Pruitt.
Exactly. I want to give a big shout out to any and all of the underdogs out there, couch potatoes or ex-couch potatoes, who didn't think they could or should. And that is not the case. Each one of you has so much potential and so much value yet to discover in yourself. Never mind this moment with the pandemic. I'm talking about your everyday life and your everyday opportunity to do something different, something great. So let's just start today. Join us on this run, the virtual run at 1,000 miles to light. And one day at a time, together, we will all make this a better place.
We're having a couple. Go ahead. I think you got cut there, Samantha. Go ahead.
Did I get cut off?
No, you're good. I think you're good. Okay.
Go again.
At least the latter part of your message. Not sure if I was able to grab it.
Okay, no problem.
Get it?
Mine is a shout out to all the ex-couch potatoes, couch potatoes, or underdogs who are not living in the body, in the life that they want. And I want them to know that every day you can get up and decide to do it differently. There's nothing but potential in you and opportunity out there. So join us for the virtual run at 1,000 miles to light, and together we will create a better tomorrow together for all of humanity.
Samantha Pruitt representing Team USA, and I'd like to say thank you to Pat and Sam again, inviting everyone August 14 until 24. Catch it live. Go to at 1,000 Miles to Light website or Facebook page and find out more on how you can catch the live event. And if you'd want to join us, and I say us because me and my wife are going to join the virtual run as well, go to at 1,000 Miles to Light page and register. Let's join virtually. And please, there's a donate button there. Regardless of what country you're from, we can help raise awareness for youth mental health. Okay, youth mental health. Let's try to help our friends in Australia, because at one point, believe me, it's going to return back to us 100-fold. Pat Farmer, thank you very much. Samantha Pruitt, thank you very much. I'll put you guys back in the virtual backstage, and let's have a quick chat before, after I end the show. And that's where we end our special episode for your Sports Locked and Loaded. Thank you again to Pat Farmer and Samantha Pruitt. I wish Team USA good luck. Samantha, Kate, Shan, and Dean, good luck on August 14. And of course, for Team Australia, enjoying home court advantage. Greta, Deirdre, Justin, and Mr. Pat Farmer, good luck on August 14 as well. And to all our viewers, as mentioned, we experienced a little glitch in our posting this live on Facebook, but we are live right now on YouTube. But worry not, because right after this, we'll be posting the recorded show on our Facebook page, and even our friends from at 1,000 Miles to Light, they'll be posting the recorded show as well on the Facebook page of at 1,000 Miles to Light, and you can catch it there whenever you guys feel like watching it. I hope you get inspired by the stories of Pat Farmer and Samantha Pruitt. Our next show will be on August 13. We go back to our regular time of 6 p.m. Details will be announced on the Facebook page of Sports Locked and Loaded. And once again, thank you very much to Mr. Mikey Rosales, Melay Javier, and Miss Marcia Cruz Guillermo of Gatorade for sponsoring Sports Locked and Loaded. On behalf of my director, who is in Tokyo, Japan, covering the Olympic Games, my name is Chicky Reyes, saying thank you for watching and supporting Sports Locked and Loaded. We hope that you guys are safe and healthy and you got inspired by our special show today. On that, I say good evening, and please don't forget, stay safe, stay healthy, don't forget to pray, and stay locked and loaded. We'll see you all next week. Bye, guys.